Hi, welcome back to another episode of How to SkyPortal. In this video, we are going to go over how to perform follow-up requests to get requests for telescopes to make observations of a particular source, as well as to retrieve force photometry from surveys that enable force photometry services from within the application. And so if we start again on the home screen per usual, we will start out by going to our allocations tab. And here, so as we've already discussed how requesting an allocation works, but again, I just want to go back over this. So if I once again set myself as PI, I have again some number of hours on a particular instrument, and then I can choose the instrument I'm interested in from within the dropdown. And in this case, we can use the LCO's 1 meter instrument suite. Sinistro is an imager on the LCO 1 meters, and yeah, and so it's at this point that for most of these allocations, you are required to provide some kind of token or some kind of username and password. And so let's go to the SkyPortal documentation for just a minute to take a look as to how that works. So if you're in the SkyPortal documentation, under MMA features, we have this follow-up triggering tab. And this is the tab to go to find out, where and how do I find the various tokens and usernames and passwords that I need to provide for the systems that I'm interested in. And so looking at LCO, there's this LCO, you have access to the portal through lco.global, and if you have an account, you can, they provide an API token, and even an archive token, and given a proposal ID, you can provide this information, just sort of copying and pasting here within the app, and you type it in here, and I'll just put in some dummy values, 2022B, 001 or something like that. I have a, just test token, test archive token. You will fill that in with your, with the allocation that you have. And we can add it then, and then it should appear at the bottom here. So then, so if we go back to the dashboard page, we can then click on a particular source. So within the source page here, you have the photometry and spectroscopy. You're down at the follow-up tab here. And if you do your drop-down, your allocation drop-down here, you can see all of the allocations that you have access to here. And so if we take Sinistro as an example, you have observation mode in the drop-down in the particular program that I have running at the moment. I have time critical time, so I can choose that. And then I can request, observations on G band and R band, 300 seconds, 1 exposure, start date and end date, maximum air mass, lunar distance, and inter-proposal priority. So LCO allows you to scale your priority of your observations up and down, which is nice. So from there, I can submit that observation. I can see the request that I made and scroll over, and I can see indeed that it was submitted. Now in this case, since it's a test request, I don't actually want that observation to be made. So I will go ahead and I will click delete, and that will remove the observation for me. Yeah. So that is in broad strokes how you do if you're going to get follow-up photometry for a particular instrument. Force photometry, where you have a survey and you're going to instead request to retrieve kind of archival photometry from, let's say, Atlas or ZTF, it works in a very similar way. So if I go to my dropdown and I have Atlas here, here, for example, for Atlas, since it's just archival photometry, you just provide a start date and an end date. And so I can submit my request to Atlas here. And the point is for this kind of request, it's going to take some amount of time. And so what's happening is you are submitting a request to their server for this particular object. So, within the app, we tell them what the right ascension and declination of the object is, such that they know what point on the sky that they should be, retrieving photometry for you for, basically. And so if we just give it a few seconds, we can wait to see. We can try to retrieve the object. Unsurprisingly, it's not quite ready for it's not quite ready yet, and so it'll just say submitted for the moment. But we can go away for a minute and come back to wait sufficient amount of time for the force photometry request to be done. So if I just, maybe for example, if I just reload the page here, I go down, back to my follow-up tab. I can click under Atlas once again. I have my Atlas requests. I can click retrieve, and we can see if it's done yet. As I said, this does take usually a couple of minutes to get done, but there you go. Maybe in the meantime, while we wait, we can actually show this follow-up request tab. And so if we go to follow-up requests, and we can see the various instruments that we have in the drop-down here. We have Atlas somewhere here. Atlas is down here. And so you can actually see the follow-up request that we just made. Now, the reason that this is interesting is that it might be typical for you to have very many, in this case, force photometry requests, right? Or observations that you've requested through LCO, and you may want to, change the follow-up requests that you have. Maybe you realize that you have too many of them and you need to remove some of them because, again, you've seen how many you are, or you can check the status and you can see which ones are submitted or completed and that kind of thing. So it can give you kind of an overview of what's going on currently. You also have the ability on the right-hand side here to, filter by request date and so on to, to view different follow-up requests. And what's cool is while we were waiting, so we'd requested, we clicked retrieve, which basically tries to retrieve the data. And while we were talking, you see that the photometry was committed to the database, which is great. So if we go back to our dashboard and then onto our source, and then if we refresh, you now see that instead of just the ZTF data, we now have Atlas observations of this particular spot on the sky, which should enable you to use another survey to study the objects that you want. And so this ends the discussion on follow-up requests and force photometry. As always, please send us any thoughts, questions, or comments that you have on this particular topic, and we'll look forward to hearing from you soon. Thanks.